Hey, hi, thanks for stopping by and watching this video. I'm Tim McMillen. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Director of Ecommerce here at Candyspace. And last week I had the pleasure of attending IRX and I gave a couple of talks over the 2 days that we were there. And I had such lovely feedback and some really good conversations after the two talks that I gave that I thought actually I should turn that into a little video so I can push it out there and extend the reach of the topic beyond just kind of like the audiences that came along to IRX. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes on the topic of e-commerce personalization, and my presentation is entitled From Data Rich to Insight Ready, B2B Personalization That Pays Off. And the first thing we're going to do is start by exploring why we would even strategically consider B2B e-commerce. And for me and for the rest of us here at Candyspace, the strategic goal of B2B e-commerce is not to focus on new customer acquisition and growing share of wallet like it is with individual customers in B2C. For us, the true goal of B2B e-commerce is to scale operations efficiently through customer self-service and to reduce operating costs whilst increasing business efficiency. And I think that quite a lot of B2B e-commerce implementations really miss the point. Without actually thinking about personalization when you do e-commerce in B2B, if you just go and do e-commerce without B2B personalization, you're just going to be creating yet another catalog. And what we really need to do is unlock the power of the data that's in our business so that we can drive more data-driven experiences to our e-commerce channels and transform kind of hybrid selling models so that we can make the digital channels that we offer our customers as smart, relevant, and as effective as your best salespeople when they're having those more intimate conversations with the customers on a one-to-one basis. But before we go much further, I think it's probably just worth reflecting on the question, do B2B buyers actually want to switch to digital self-service? And I think the answer universally is probably yes there. You've probably seen, if you're in B2B, you've probably seen a lot of research over the last few years about that changing demographic of the B2B buyer, how it's being, how those buyers are turning into, how people from like Gen Z and the millennials are now taking on positions of buying responsibility within B2B organizations. And this stat here from Accenture, I think it dates back to about 2018. Even back then it was saying that 73% of B2B buyers wanted a personalised B2C-like experience. So that's why it's really important that we start focusing on this if we haven't already thought about personalisation within B2B. And to sum that up, really, I would say when you are thinking about personalisation, just remember that B2B buyers want Netflix, they don't want spreadsheets. Okay? And the challenge for us as a B2B organisation is actually thinking about how do we unlock the power of our data so that we can drive those hyper-personalised recommendations and experiences that these new B2B buyers are enjoying when they're sat at home on their sofa and doing things in B2C world. And this is our and to that point, I think it's really important to focus on the fact that actually as a B2B organization, it's eminently possible for you to do this. You have a real advantage. Unlike in B2C, unless you're a brand like in B2C who has high frequency of orders like a grocery brand or a beauty brand or something like that. If you're a B2C brand where you have 1 or 2 orders from your customers per year, it's really hard to leverage insight from that data and to tailor experiences based upon what you knew about a customer based upon something they ordered 6 months ago. And you see this on websites where you start seeing recommendations for the same types of products and things like that when you're shopping yourself. So within B2B, you have this information within your business to be able to drive these types of experiences, these personalized experiences that are on screen at the moment. But you probably just don't know how to operationalize it so you can do things like hyper-personalized things, to enable customers to have dynamic content, personalized pricing, see their order history, easy reordering, things like that. And without this, without the power of that personalization, that insight, B2B self-service is going to just turn into another catalog and probably not be very attractive to your customers. So how do we unlock this? What do we need to do to turn your data into something useful? And this is where we need to talking about the disadvantage that often exists within B2B organizations. What we still find, even today in 2025, when we're talking to B2B organizations, is that there is no central source of truth when it comes to customer data. you'll probably see, this might be a familiar kind of picture for you watching this now. You might have offline catalogs still. You might have a number of websites servicing different parts of the customer journey and they're not connected. So maybe your customers need to log in with different passwords in different websites, things like that. You might have a blend of on-prem and cloud native applications. But I reckon I'd be willing to bet that probably most of the knowledge and insight and data that you need to offer personalised experiences is sat within the minds and the instincts of your sales team, perhaps locked away in their emails or even peppered in around the business in different types of spreadsheets. And unless we can tap into the power of this data and unlock it and drive kind of automated personalisation through it, we're going to be offering an experience to our customers that's probably worse than the one they've got already when they're talking one-to-one with your sales teams. So we need a process to unlock this, and what we have here is our approach. This is how we at Candyspace tackle taking an organisation on that journey to kind of B2B personalisation for their customers. And the first place that we start is always with the customer. This should be seen as an opportunity, right? You get to reimagine the experiences that you create for your customers and think about how you introduce that hybrid digital selling channel into it. We're not looking to replace our sales team. We're looking to enhance them and help them focus on higher value activities and growing accounts more strategically. And that's why it's also really important at this stage to pull our sales teams into the process. If we don't win their hearts and minds early on, whatever we build, however great and amazing it is, they're not going to encourage your customers to adopt it, and there's going to be resistance. So you need to bring the sales team and the rest of the business that has customer contact into the process to help them understand the power of it all and also what it means for them and why it isn't actually a threat to them. The next stage you go through, once you understand the journeys you want to create, is auditing and unifying your first party data. So what data do you need to hit those CX touch points that we've uncovered in stage one? How are we going to fuel those personalized experiences? And where are the gaps in our data to drive those experiences? So we need to go through the process here of understanding how to operationalize our data. You know, if you've got complicated products that if you want to enable self-service on, you know, maybe they're quite easy to have a conversation and have a consultative sale. But to do that digitally, you're going to need more data about it. You might need to know more specifications about the object. You're going to need to write business rules around how customers configure and price those kind of solutions. So data and experiences are the two real cornerstones of getting personalization right in e-commerce. And through this process, you'll probably be evaluating your systems as well. Well, you need to evaluate your systems, right? Are the core systems that you have in your organization today fit for purpose? Are they cloud native? Are they secure enough? Can they exchange information with other systems really easily? Can they handle high intensity data operations? You know, can they scale as your personalization needs scale? So you've got to go through that process and be really objective about how fit for purpose your systems are. And if some of them are not going to be able to handle personalized experiences in real time, you need to take action. So you might need to replace a few things. You might need to implement some new systems for things that are missing. You might need to create a data layer or a middleware layer on top of all of your data to enable you to mediate data operations between systems in a scalable and efficient way. And, you know, moving on to the next step, what you're probably going to find as well, that there are going to be gaps in tooling that you need to, you know, really springboard your maturity towards personalization. So you might actually decide that you'd probably be really valuable to have a CDP, a customer data platform. Perhaps you're going to be exploring AI tools, and you're going to do that through this process. And really common through this stage as well is actually thinking about analytics and how you can actually become more efficient at generating the analytics and dashboards that you need, but also unlocking the power of predictive analytics. By cleaning up your data and operationalizing it the way we described, you really unlock a lot more potential to get value and insight out of your data. So once you've covered off those first 5 steps, my opinion is that that's the stage when you're actually ready to actually start thinking about B2B e-commerce channels. And, you know, what those channels are really depends upon the experiences that you designed with your customers in the very beginning there. You know, is it an out-and-out e-commerce channel? Is it something as simple as just a better search engine on top of data that you've got within your organization or that your customers can access? Is it self-service portals where customers can go on and manage their accounts, check credit levels, things like that? at any time of day without support from the business. Perhaps it's companion apps or installer apps, or maybe it's blended content and commerce websites, or configure price quoting tools. Whatever it is, don't be seduced by the idea of a new channel and run towards it and just start building it out in ignorance of kind of like personalization. Get your foundations in place before you start thinking about building out any kind of e-commerce solution, because you want that e-commerce solution to be personal. And then just to round off on this, we've got like at stage 7 there, enabling internal teams. That isn't actually a step after all that other stuff. That is something that I argue quite often has to happen all throughout the journey here to personalisation and modernisation. If you don't enable your internal teams to be able to unlock the power of the new tools and systems that you're putting in place, then they're not going to be successful with it. And there's probably going to be an element of fear through this process as well. So make sure all the way through here, as you're turning on new capabilities, that you're bringing the team on the journey, much like we were talking about earlier with the sales team, bringing the wider business on that journey as well. Help them ignite their kind of imagination as to what they can do with these tools, and show them that actually these things are there to help them focus on higher value tasks and to have better outcomes. And then finally, don't make the mistake of building some great channels, turning them on and then walking away from them and thinking your job's done here. No, everything always evolves. Your buyers' expectations change, competitors become more imaginative or competitive, and you have new ideas in your business as well. So you're going to be enriching and capturing much more data and much more insight through this process. You need to capitalize on that and continue to keep going. Start developing working groups to help you understand how you're going to take that insight you're getting and make the experiences even better. Your best salespeople, they never stop adapting their strategies and through the relationships they build, and your e-commerce channel shouldn't stop being kind of strategic and adaptable either. And if you get through all of that, what you should find is you'll be in a position where actually you've got this really powerful layer of data and technology that's sitting between your customers and the business. But what we don't want to do is introduce a layer of complexity or difficulty here, because the goal is to make that layer invisible. What we want is customers to feel like they're moving between systems and stages of the journey really seamlessly, and the data and the personalization is just arriving. And we don't want our business to feel overwhelmed by having to manually create a load more data points and keep them up to date in a manual way. If you're doing this right, your goal should be to actually create an ecosystem of data and tooling that is invisible, so your customers and the business don't really notice it at all, much like it is on Netflix, right? So you've gone through all that process. What can you expect? What are the kind of outcomes that the personalization with e-commerce can deliver? Well, here are my favorite 6 really. We've already spoken about the first one there, about the goal of this, the true goal to be about becoming more efficient. So what we're trying to do here is drive a lower cost to serve of our customer base, right? So that can be self-service, but that can also be things like automation of routine processes. Have you got like order rekeying work going on? Are you generating all invoices manually? All of those things are prime for being automated. It can reduce labor cost and free people up to do more interesting activities. And through that process as well of automation, we're probably going to witness a reduction in errors, right? So we're not going to have mistakes creeping into our workflow. And we've got the side effect as well that we'll have better integration between key systems within our organisation. So our ERP and CRM system can talk to each other better, things like that. That just means that we've democratized data and insight across the business, and we can start enabling people outside of the digital and IT teams or marketing teams with insight that can help them be better and give better outcomes to our customers. And that's what the next one's all about really, is improve customer experiences, right? Giving the customers the self-service capabilities they're looking for, if that's buying or just checking pricing or checking the inventory levels or lead times, things like that based upon their personal circumstances. Doing all of that without sales rep intervention, and bringing personalisation in there, right? So showing their customised catalogues and contract pricing, showing their tailored order history directly to their customers and their accounts, things like that. And doing that in a much more convenient way, so it's faster for your customers to reorder things, perhaps by using saved templates or some kind of repeat order functionality. And all of this has led to like an uplift in revenue normally. So you have to remember that what we'll have done through this process is created a 24/7 sales channel. We'll be able to enable customers to order at any time of day, even when your sales team are not at their desks. And that in turn brings opportunity, right? Because you can actually start thinking about going into other markets much more easily, right? Because you've got this 24/7 e-commerce channel that can unlock the potential to go to market in a country or a region where perhaps you're not today. And let's not forget as well that it's proven, right, that by giving personalised experiences in e-commerce within B2B and using tools like dynamic pricing and things like that, you can increase average order values by up to 30%. So that's great news, right? So not only are you improving experiences and becoming more operationally efficient, but you're also generating higher average order values from every order that comes in by using some of these techniques. And a key benefit as well for this process is that we are going to be continually enriching and enhancing the data and insights that are available to us to be able to serve our customers better. So we'll be able to understand customer behavior, see their purchase habits, look for changes in that. So if someone hasn't ordered for a while, perhaps we can actually reactivate them through some kind of insight-led campaign, or encourage our sales team to reach out and say, hey, we notice you haven't ordered this month, is there something wrong? So catch those lapses and drive that loyalty through enhanced insight and data performance is really key. And what we can also do with that data is to start developing real-time dashboards. We know that within B2B, producing dashboards and the real-time reports and things like that is really difficult until you get your data in shape. But once it's in shape, you can have that live view of performance, of forecast and things like that. And you're also going to be shortening kind of that feedback loop to your customers. So as you introduce new ranges or new ideas or change prices or things like that, getting an enriched level of data and feedback through that faster is going to be really helpful for you to monitor the decisions that you've made. And all of that really accumulates into a competitive advantage. There's lots of ways that this really helps you to stand out. So first of all, you're going to be meeting the expectations of your buyers, right? You've listened to them, they told you how they want to engage with you digitally, and they've told you probably that they want B2C like experiences. So you've listened and you've implemented something that sets you apart from your competitors. Driving seamless, personalised buying experiences. That isn't something that every B2B organisation would just turn on overnight, and you still have a big chance of actually being the first to do that within your market, because it's still relatively kind of burgeoning as a practice within B2B, getting to that personalised level. And I think what's really cool as well about this is that actually you can respond to market trends faster. So getting your house in order through the steps that we explained earlier means that you can learn from intel from your customers, from competitors, things like that, make product updates faster, run promotions that are more tailored, things like that. So lots of ways that you can be more competitive through this. And I think finally, a real value of this process is that actually you bring more scalability into the organization. You can expand and grow without proportionally increasing your overheads in perhaps the way that you would have done if you'd have done this previously. And it makes it easier to onboard new customers or new partners or new product lines and things like that. This is a really healthy activity to go through, to getting your data in shape, even if you're not doing kind of B2B e-commerce straight away, but it unlocks many other advantages and benefits throughout the wider business. Okay, I'm pretty much done for the presentation. I'll just leave you with one final thought. If you walk away with nothing else, please make it this final thought. In B2B, personalisation isn't about being flashy, it's about being useful. And that's really about remembering that tailored relevance builds trust and loyalty and long-term value with your customers, but it has to be meaningful for them, and it has to be personal, it has to meet the kind of the experience expectations that they told you that they're looking for. Okay, so just one or two things to cover off before I close out the video. At IRX last week, I offered everyone that was in the audience the opportunity to spend some quality time with me and my team, having a tailored consultative bootcamp. And that's really about helping anyone who's listened to the talk that we gave and thought, actually, I want to find out more about that, or I don't know where to get started, or actually I need to do that, but I need some help. We put together these kind of tailored consultative boot camps. They can be half a day or 1 day in duration, but they are designed to focus on your objectives and your goals and the strategies that you're following at the moment, and helping to enrich the way that you approach that and come out with a plan to get started. So I'm really happy that we had half a dozen people come up to us last week and say actually they really want one of those sessions. I'll extend that offer to everyone who's actually taken the time to get to this point in the video. So if you fancy the idea of a free consultative bootcamp with my e-commerce team, then yeah, there's some links here in the comments. I'm sure they'll follow up with links afterwards, and this QR code will take you to a registration page where you can request one of those. But actually, why not just stay in touch with me? Here is my contact details and my LinkedIn as well. And yeah, if there's anything that I spoke about today that you'd like to find out a little bit more information about, or perhaps you'd like to hear some case studies, then please do connect with me. We can have an intro conversation, and I'd be delighted to meet anybody that I haven't met before. All right, well, that's all for me. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to hear from some of you soon. Bye for now.